Please note, selling is a competition. Not one time in my career have I gotten a paycheck for coming in second. Never got a trophy for trying hard. It does beg the question, why do you spend so much time with your mediocre players? This is Sales Untraining, a very different kind of sales podcast. 3 out of 4 salespeople are failing. They're falling short of their revenue. Why doesn't sales training work? That's what this sales podcast is about. It's your weekly sales strategy guide designed to rewire your sales brain. Welcome to Sales Untraining. I'm Kelly Riggs. So good to have you alongside. It is your weekly sales strategy guide designed to completely rewire your sales brain. And I'm so glad to have you to be a part of it. I hope you will like the podcast, subscribe to it, and get a new episode each and every week. And of course, what I'd really like for you to do is share it with someone that you think should be a part of the conversation. Well, let's talk about selling. Selling in general. And that truism that I pointed out to you in the open. Selling is a competition. Now, the sooner you understand that, the better it is for you. There's no doubt. I mean, again, how many times have you cashed a check for coming in second or third? You know, do you really go back to your sales manager and say, holy crud, I mean, I crushed that presentation, had those guys right where I wanted them, eating out of the palm of my hand. I mean, you should have heard my wordplay and my transitions and my slides. Whoa, unreal. Did you get the deal? Well, no, but man, my presentation was great. Hey, no worries. We got a second place program here at our company, and we're going to give you a nice trophy and a check for second place. Oh, it just sounds ridiculous, doesn't it? But how many salespeople, how many sales leaders treat it like a competition? Listen, it's in your best interest to learn to compete and to have salespeople that want to compete. The difference between first and second is like you're in the Olympics. Many times you can slide a business card in between first and second. Buyers a lot of times are struggling. Is it this one or that one? I mean, everything we do has got to be about creating the most minute advantage because the competition is that good. I mean, clearly. Listen, when you play the game, there's really only 4 ways to play the game from my perspective, at least. The first one is we just show up and play. I mean, when I was younger, in my 40s, we used to go play basketball twice a week, Monday, Thursday, 6 a.m., show up at the local gym, pick teams, run them back every 11 points, right? Why did we keep score? To see who got the court next. We weren't keeping stats. We didn't have standings. Nobody cares. We're a bunch of out-of-shape old guys, right? We just show them play. Sadly, that's what most salespeople do. You know, clock in at 8, clock out at 5, don't work on the weekends, not trying to get better, really just doing my job, working hard while I'm on the job, don't get me wrong, but I mean, you know, we're playing basketball, yeah, we're huffing and puffing, you know, we're putting out some energy. We're really trying to throw off some carbs and, you know, calories and that kind of thing. Well, that's what salespeople do. Show up at 8, leave at 5, just show up to play. But that's not how you win consistently. Second way you compete is to show up to win. Play to win. You can just show up and play, or you can play to win. That's the way we've got to orient what we do as a team and as individual players. Third way, play to win at all costs. Now, I don't recommend that one. That one, you know, you wind up in the big house. You know what I'm saying? Think Enron. That's not something we want to be guilty of. We throw ethics or legalities out the window. Not interested. The fourth way, wow, a lot of us have sports teams that take this approach. It's called we play not to lose, right? I mean, you've seen it in the fourth quarter when we change our entire defense back up and give away the entire middle of the field and let somebody march right down the field. Think Atlanta and New England. Well, maybe it's not a perfect example, but when you're up 28-3, you probably ought to win, don't you think? When you start playing not to lose, a bit of a problem. But we don't compete. It's really interesting. Vince Lombardi, iconic football coach, early 60s, the Super Bowl trophy is named after him. He's a guy who said, show me a good loser, and I'll show you someone who gets used to losing. If you're not competing, you get used to not competing. You get used to just showing up. You don't develop the discipline and the drive to get 1% better every day. It's a significant issue. And there's a couple of things that you need to start doing differently as a sales leader to change the dynamic, the culture, the environment, the team culture and norms that you have. Number one, you need to train incessantly. Train all the time. I'm just aghast at certain sales leaders when we talk about training. Number one response, I get it, Kelly, we don't have time. You don't have time to get better. You don't have time to teach, train, develop your people to become more effective. That's why you don't have any time. No, it is. I mean, that's the hamster wheel we can't get off because our people aren't good enough and we got promoted because we're great at what we do. We wind up stepping in front of them a lot. We wind up solving all of their problems. We wind up having to make sure that their pipeline is full and to make sure that they're doing things the right way. But we're not riding with them. We're not coaching them. We're not developing. They're not getting better. So it never ends. If you're not helping your team get better, then you're never going to be much more than mediocre unless you're really lucky and you hire 4 or 5 crackerjack salespeople who just kill it. Guess what? They're not going to want to have you as their leader. I mean, great players want to play on great teams for great coaches, coaches that challenge them, help them get better, improve their skills. That's starting today. Well, I mean, do you have a training plan? Number one, to create a high performance culture, we need to have an attitude that says we're getting better all the time. There are so many ways to train. Kelly, we don't have time for that. Sure you do. You've got all kinds of time. First off, you've probably got salespeople that can teach other salespeople who can take a part of a weekly sales meeting or a bi-weekly sales meeting and take 15, 20 minutes and share some of their success and what they do exactly. You've got one-on-one time that you can spend with them. You can ride alongside with them. You've got to change the culture if you want to create anything more than mediocre culture. You've got to change it. You've got to change the approach. And if you haven't changed your attitude yet, then start with your actions. Just decide to train. Figure out exactly where we need to train. Is it pipeline management? Is it identifying the right opportunities, high value, high probability opportunities? Is that the problem? Is it presentation skills? Is it being able to plan exactly where and when you're going to be places and make calls? Is it working on introductions to calls and how you get conversations started? Is it discovery? And on and on. I mean, even product training is necessary. Getting better at understanding applications and business case uses, and on it goes. If you don't have a training plan for each individual salesperson, you're not serious. You're not a competitor. Now, listen, you can be mad at me and you can tell me I don't have any idea what I'm talking about, but there's just certain basic fundamental things that competitors do. And that's number one, is that you have to train all the time. Number two, listen, isn't it about time to replace your underperformers? I'm not talking about people coming in at 85, 90, 92, 94%. I'm talking about the people that you know have no business being on your team. Really simple question to ask. And this comes out of one of the Fortune 100 companies, their HR practices. A very simple question to ask. If I came to you and asked you about a particular individual salesperson and asked this question, what would your answer be? Would you fight to keep them on your team? Would you fight for them? Or would you go, no, okay, maybe, no, maybe not? Asked and answered. You've got the wrong person. Number one answer I get on that, well, Kelly, yeah, but maybe I haven't done everything I need to. Look, you know what a performer looks like, don't you? Don't you know what a competitor looks like? They've got goals. They talk about those goals. They care about where they rank. They want to know what it takes to get to the top. They're coming in early. They're staying late. They're asking questions. They're always trying to get better. They're reading some of these books, right? They're on a mission to get better. If those aren't your people, replace them. Well, I can't just replace everybody. Fine. Pick the lowest one, replace them. Listen, if you're not looking for talent 24/7, you're not serious. I mean, there's just certain things that mark professional, successful team building sales leaders. That's two of them. After the break, I'll give you another one. I'm Kelly Riggs, host of the Sales Untraining podcast. A couple of quick questions for you. Do you hire salespeople? Is sales turnover far too high in your organization? Do you struggle to find A players for your sales team? Well, these are very common questions, and there is a better way to hire. I'm a partner with Objective Management Group, OMG, and they have been assessing sales candidates for over 30 years. In fact, they've assessed over 2.5 million salespeople. Now, this is a very different type of assessment. First thing out of your mind is it another behavioral assessment? Is it a psychometric tool? Is it a personality quiz? No, nothing like that. It is based on 21 very specific sales competencies. And you need to listen to this. This is crazy. It is 91% predictive of sales performance. That's right, 91% predictive. You can't even make a claim like that without the science behind it. Listen, if you struggle to find the right people, or if you just need a lot more help in the hiring process and making sure you're getting in front of the right people to hire, please email me, kelly@bizlockerroom.com. Oh, by the way, and you can absolutely try it for free, and it has a guarantee. kelly@bizlockerroom.com. Back to the show. Welcome back to Sales Untraining. I'm Kelly Riggs. Again, great to have you with us as we talk about the challenges in sales training. How do we get better in implementation of sales training? Well, one of the things that is just absolutely systemic is you have to create a culture of excellence. You just can't tolerate mediocrity. And so we talked about, okay, so what do? Well, first, let me work backwards. You need to eliminate your underperformers. I said, I'm not talking about people at 85, 87, 90, 92%. I'm not talking even about people who are on the journey from new to experienced. And the reason they're not hitting numbers may be that they still have things to learn. But I will tell you this, we always made it crystal clear what the minimum standard was to stay on the team. With my team, when I was a sales leader, if you were 85% of plan or less 2 quarters in a row, you were probably on your way out the door. And that was well communicated. I mean, you cannot be below 85%, period, unless it's just a one-off, things went sideways, lost your biggest account to a merger, I have no idea, and we need to rebuild. 2 quarters in a row, I've already begun to address it in quarter one. Quarter two, we're all over it and we're keeping track with it. I had many salespeople come in a month and a half into quarter two and say, I think I need to go somewhere else, right? Because the scrutiny and the expectations were crystal clear. And guys, that is number 3. The third thing you have to do is be crystal clear about the expectations for performance. I've mentioned it before, but I'm just can't understand why so many sales leaders, when they do create sales training, they make it sound like it's optional. I actually had someone say to me not too terribly long ago, listen, Kelly, we're doing some training. I just can't get people to come to it. Excuse me? What do you mean you can't get them to come? When did you make it optional? People don't want to train. They are opting out. Period. Oh, you can't do that. I'm sorry, why? We've become very, very weak in terms of just creating very clear expectations of where the boundaries are. When I hired new salespeople, very, very clear. If you're less than 85% of plan for 2 quarters, you can't work for us. If you're not working and getting better and improving your skills, you won't fit in here. Before you go to our sales school, 1 week of training, if you haven't memorized our first product presentation and you're not able to give that to me in a way that I feel confident in, you don't go, and that's a problem. I mean, always very clear about expectations. Look around your sales team. Who are your learners? People who are always trying to acquire more information, more knowledge, more wisdom, more ideas about applications and uses and so forth. That's the people you're looking for. That's the kind of people you want to set as a minimum standard to hire. If they don't have the desire to improve, to grow, then you need to step away. I don't care who they are. I don't care who they are. Listen, in terms of setting expectation, the third component of changing your people into competitors, create the expectation that you want them to write down their goals. When I started in selling way back when, 30 plus years ago, it was a given. You were going to have specific written goals for the year and for each quarter. The goals for the year would include personal goals, things you might want to achieve on your own, things you were striving for, but it included your annual revenue goal and things like that. It was broken down into quarters, and you had learning goals as well. I want to learn this. I want to get this book read and learn on that. And so the manager would turn that into things to talk about. Did you do it? What did you learn? How has it impacted you? This whole mindset, for the most part, has gone away. I ask salespeople on a consistent basis, tell me what your goals are. I get very generic things. Well, I want to be really good at what I do. I want to get promoted. I want to make a certain amount of money. I say, great. Are they written down anywhere? No. Do you have a plan to achieve those goals? No. Then I'm sorry, they're not goals. Oh yeah, they're my goals. No, they're not. They're dreams, but they're not goals. A goal that's not written down, it's not specific, and you don't have a plan to achieve that goal, it's not a goal. It's just an idea. It's a good thought. It's a dream that I consider. Set expectations for your people. That begins by finding out what's important to them, what are their goals, what do they want to accomplish, and then we work together to help you get there. Our expectation is that we're always going to be striving to raise the bar, to get a little bit better every day, to change our skill sets, to improve our knowledge. That's how you create the right type of competitive culture. Because if you're not in the marketplace to compete, you're going to be getting second or worse a lot. And there's no pay there. I'll see you next time.
Sales Untraining is a production of Business Locker Room and Pod About It Productions. Music and editing by Doug Branson. To get more Kelly, visit bizlockerroom.com.